For clarification, the original product would have been sugarcane bagasse, but it wasn't available at the time of the experiment, so it was substituted by bamboo bagasse. The bamboo stock was obtained from a garden since the plant itself was starting to dry off, so we had to remove it. The waste used for this project was obtained by sawing the bamboo stock, thus obtaining a sawdust consistency. The bamboo waste was then laid out for 2 days in the sun so it could dry properly, and it was stored in a Ziploc bag to avoid humidity. The reactor for this project consisted of a metal can that was topped off with a metal lid and sealed with tape to avoid any gas leaks. A hole with a tube in the middle of the lid connected the reactor to a condenser. This was made out of plastic bottle taped with a metal lid that had a small hole for the ventilation of gases. The condenser was submerged in water with ice to encourage a quick temperature change for the gases to condense. The heat source used was a stove grill. As seen, the bamboo waste was measured and then loaded into the reactor. Then the reactor was sealed with tape to ensure no leaks. It was positioned on the stove, connected to the condenser, which was already in the cold water, and then the stove was turned on. It should be noted that a couple of strings had to be placed to the condenser so it wouldn't float in the bucket, and in the video, the stove is turned on, but due to the intensity of the light outside, the flame is barely visible. The reactor was lit for around 2 hours, time in which it was constantly monitored. At around 20 minutes into the experiment, gases began to come out of the vent and an effort to light them up was attempted several times. However, the gases did not light up. During the test, safety goggles were always worn with the hair tied back and no loose clothing. As safety measures, the fire extinguisher and the bucket of water were near the experiment in case of an emergency, and silicone gloves were available if the reactor needed to be manipulated. When the time was up, the stove was turned off and the reactor was left alone to cool down enough for manipulation. Finally, the reactor was opened up and it was noted that char was produced. Then it was ignited, proving it is combustible. Lastly, the liquids contained in the condenser were also taken out and an attempt to light them up was made, but they were not combustible.